Have you ever felt drawn to a specific place or person or experience, but you don't really know why? On the other hand, have you ever felt like a gut feeling of something isn't right after making a decision or taking a step towards something? That is your intuition. And in this video, I want to talk about how to listen to it because I believe that the more we follow our intuition, the happier we'll be. Because in my experience, anytime I've made a decision purely out of logic or reasoning, I was not happy until I finally made some kind of change that was in alignment with my intuition. So that's why it's so important to learn to trust it and learn how to follow it, because it's our inner guidance system. It's like our inner compass. And if we're not used to listening to it, we can get really confused in life and we can end up in situations that we never even wanted to be in the first place. It's funny because I've always been a very indecisive person. Like, I literally used to have a coin flip app on my phone to help me make decisions, which wasn't even that helpful. I've made so many pro and con lists. I always go to other people to tell them to tell me what to do. Like, I literally will be like, can you just tell me what decision to make? There's so many things like this that over time I've gotten better at. Like, I've learned to trust my intuition, and it's pretty strong now where I can't really make decisions not in alignment with it because my body will be like yelling at me saying, no, you have to do this. But doing all of those things like the lists and talking to people and the coin flip app, it was all getting in the way of my inner knowing. Like, I really think everything is energy. We're all energetic beings. So it makes sense that we can feel energy and we have it all within us. We can feel when something is right for us or not. So you probably know what your intuition feels like. Like, you've probably felt before when you've made a decision or you've taken a step towards something, but then something within you is like holding you back. It's like, wait, you shouldn't do that. Or on a more positive note, it could be when you have a moment of complete like peace and clarity and a feeling of lightness after you make a decision or after you do something or take a step towards something. These are all signals guiding you. They're all guiding you towards what I believe is whatever is in alignment with what you truly want and ultimately in alignment with your higher self. And it's funny because looking back at times in my life when I had a really difficult decision to make and I was really conflicted and really didn't know what to do, I always knew what the answer was, like deep down. And for one reason or another, I just couldn't make the decision. So I was looking for everything outside of myself to tell me what to do. And I think in a way that's like an escape mechanism because it means you're taking the responsibility off of yourself to make the decision, because decisions are scary. Like, big decisions that you have to make in life, they have repercussions. And I've found that some of the hardest decisions I've had to make in life have been regarding relationships. That's one that I think a lot of people struggle with, because I'll just share from personal experience for a second. Like, I've been in relationships before where I stayed with the person because my logic told me to. Like, I knew that we got along. It seemed like a good relationship. Everything seemed good on paper. But deep down, I knew I didn't want to be with that person. And that was selfish of me to stay. And I had a lot of moments where I felt conflicted. Like, should I stay? Should I break up with them? Like, what should I do? And I think the reason it's so hard is because I once read somewhere that the word decision has the word scission in it. And that means to sever, like to cut off. Because when you make decisions, it usually means like cutting something off or cutting someone out. And, when you make that decision and you say yes to something, it means saying no to something else. And a lot of times it's scary, and it's a lot easier and safer and more comfortable to just keep things how they are, even if deep down you know it's not right. And the craziest thing that I think a lot of us experience is that we would often rather feel comfortable but unhappy than to make a decision that's scary, that puts us in the unknown, even if we know that that's what we truly need to do or what our intuition is telling us to do. But looking back at life, I can confidently say that all of the decisions I've made where I've listened to my intuition, even if it was really scary at first and I didn't know what was happening next, they all ended up being the best decisions of my life. So now I just want to talk about some ways to listen to your intuition. So the first one, like I said, is to just listen to your body. This often happens very quickly. Like, anytime you do something or make a decision or something like that, your body will respond. Like, you'll probably feel a gut feeling of whether it's the right thing or not. Like, if I make a decision and I know it's not the right thing, my stomach, I'll feel like tension, I'll feel a heaviness. It just doesn't feel right. On the other hand, when I make a decision that is right, is following my intuition, I feel lighter. I feel more at peace. I feel like a veil has lifted or something. So listening to your body and trusting those feelings that you have is really important. And that brings me to my next point, which is, in order to listen to your intuition, you really have to turn off technology. Like, try to disconnect from technology, because our cell phones and TVs and all of that are so stimulating that it keeps our minds distracted, and it really makes it hard to actually listen to what our inner knowing is telling us. And on top of that, you have social media where there's so much information out there. You can get bombarded by it, that if you're trying to make a hard decision, you can have like 5,000 people's opinions coming at you in like 2 minutes. And that just makes your mind even more confused and more conflicted. And then you'll go into analysis paralysis because there's just so much information out there and you don't know what to do. And again, it's really like putting the focus outside of yourself, when what you really need to do is to just disconnect, get quiet, and listen to what that inner guidance is telling you. Meditating is also really helpful for this, like just getting quiet, doing yoga, trying to do deep breathing and just disconnect from everything. But again, I think one of the biggest things you can do is just disconnect from social media, disconnect from your phone, whatever you have to do, take a walk. Like, you can do anything as long as you're not kind of just absorbing, consuming a ton of information that'll cloud up all of your thinking. Another point I want to make, and this is something that I struggle with, is try not to look to other people for advice. Now, this is really hard, and I know that for me, when I'm feeling really conflicted about decisions, I can just go to all of my friends and say, tell me what to do, what would you do, what should I do here? But again, it's putting the focus outside of yourself. It's like why would you let other people make your decisions for you? It just doesn't make sense. They don't know your situation. They don't know how you feel. Like, only you know how you feel about something. If you're being honest with yourself, like, only you know how you feel. So it really has to be you, the one making the decision. You're the only one connected to your intuition. That being said, I will say, if you do go to other people for advice, this is something you can do. This is something that I do. So if I find myself going to other people for advice, I will pay attention to how I feel, what my intuition says in response to what they say. So I've done this before where I'll ask someone what they think and they'll tell me their opinion, like, oh, I think you should do this. If my gut instinct is like, I don't want to do that, that's a hint that maybe that's what my intuition is telling me, that I don't want to do that. So that's just a little key you can use if you do find yourself going to other people. It's kind of like how they say with coin flips, like, it might not necessarily make the decision for you, but you know, when you see what the result is, how you feel, that kind of tells you what you actually wanted the answer to be. Another tool that you can use to help listen to your intuition is journaling. So I find journaling very helpful, and it can get a little tricky because you can get into analysis paralysis mode where you're overthinking everything and writing out everything, and it can just get a little messy. But I will say that when you just journal, free flow your thoughts and feelings, a lot of times you can start to see things come to the surface that you might not have known before you started journaling. Now, I just want to share a little example from my own life of how I listened to my intuition. So earlier this year, I was living in Pennsylvania and I was looking for somewhere else to live. So I was looking at apartments and I found an apartment that was perfect. It checked all of the boxes and I was given the lease to sign. But when it came time to sign the lease, I could not do it. I did not know why. I just physically could not sign it. Something was telling me not to do it. It made no sense. It was exactly what I was looking for. Like I said, it checked all of the boxes and I didn't know what to do. So I started journaling about it and I did make a pro and con list, and the pro list was so much longer than the con list. So with that, I was like, okay, I should do this because the pros are so much more than the cons. Why don't I just sign it? But then as I was journaling, I let myself just write like how I was feeling. Like, okay, why am I not signing this? What does this mean in my life? Why can I not just make this decision? Why can I not just do this? And then I flipped the page, and in big letters at the top of my notebook, I wrote, do I just want to travel? And it was weird because I saw myself write that and I was like, that's weird. Is that even possible? And then I started thinking through like, wait, what would it actually look like if instead of signing the lease for the apartment, what if I did just travel? And that's actually what I did. I made it happen. Like, I realized through journaling that that's what I wanted to do. So I got everything in order. I took a trip, and long story short, I'm living in France now, and this happened just earlier this year. And looking back, like, everything started flowing as soon as I trusted my intuition, as soon as I said I'm not going to sign that lease, as soon as I entertained the idea of, oh, can I actually travel? Is that a possibility? And then I kind of just like followed the inner guidance from there. And now, like I said, I'm in France and I'm happy, and it all worked out for the best. And looking back, I can't imagine everything probably would have been fine, but my life would look so different right now if I had signed that lease, because I would be living in that apartment in Pennsylvania now. So yeah, that's just an example of following your intuition. And I think if I had one takeaway from this whole topic, I would say, don't think, just feel. And I know that's easier said than done, but this is actually something I told myself for relationships moving forward and for big life decisions. I told myself that I'm going to try to just not think at all. I know that sounds bad, but I'm going to try to not think and just feel. Just pay attention to what my body's telling me. Pay attention to that intuition and let that be the guide, and then see what happens when I just completely follow that. And obviously it doesn't mean that you throw away all logic and you don't take anything practical into consideration, because that's important too. But I do think that if you can think less and feel more, you will realize that all along, all of the answers were already within you. And that is a very empowering feeling. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments below about a time that you trusted your intuition or followed that inner guidance when making big life decisions. I would love to hear it. And thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.